So in 2020, our group released its updated guidance, and since then it has become quite a popular methodology. And to date, I think there are close to about 300 systematic reviews that have cited the JBI convergent integrated approach. And because of its wider adoption, we regularly review our guidance, and we also collect feedback from users. And one of the most common comments we receive from users is the challenge associated with transformation, and that's why we did the work that we are presenting today. And basically we wanted to know, and we wanted to describe what data transformation is, when does it happen in systematic reviews of mixed method systematic reviews, and how do you actually undertake data transformation, which is specific to the qualitization method, not the quantitization. So what we've done first is to actually look at the literature to check what's been out there about data transformation. And what we found was that most of the literature around data transformation is actually focused on primary mixed methods. And there was really almost nothing for systematic reviews. So we were quite disappointed with that. And so what we've done next is to actually review some of the, or a subset of the systematic reviews that have claimed to have cited the JBI approach to convergent integrated. And what we've done is to look at how they describe their data transformation methods and check whether they have examples of their qualitized statements in their systematic review. And where there were examples, we actually retrieved the primary quantitative studies that they've included in their review. So based on the learnings we had from the systematic reviews that we've examined, two members of the methodology group wrote a discussion paper as a start and then circulated that to the wider methodology group. We have a series of online discussions and debates, and that's also supplemented by regular emails. And so we're now presenting to you what we've come up with. So what we found is that there is a lot of variability in the way reviewers perform data transformation. In fact, we were able to identify three main approaches that reviewers do to transform their data. And I'm going to present you the examples of these reviews and then illustrate what those three approaches look like. So the first one here, you could see in the first column, the systematic review we've examined, their objective. In the middle column is the data that we've extracted from the primary study that they've actually included in their review. And then in the third column is the qualitized statement that they presented in their review. What do you notice? So they're the same, right? So there's really no qualitization that took place, which means their qualitized statements include the numerical results as well as the narrative representation of the narrative results. And what they've actually done is use those qualitized statements alongside the qualitative data from the qualitative studies, coded them, and then grouped them into sub-themes and further into themes. So that's one approach. This is a second approach that we found. In this approach, so again, look at the review objective, and in the right-hand side of the column, middle column is what we've extracted from the primary quantitative studies, and then in the third column are the qualitized data that were presented in the systematic review. Now, in the first example at the top, you see their numerical results as well. In fact, what they've done is actually, instead of spelling out the 41, they did like a numeric result. And then, so it's very, they've tweaked the quantitative data from the primary study and then included 2 months in their qualitized statement to align it better with a systematic review objective. In the second example, what the reviewers have done was to actually rephrase the data from the primary quantitative studies and make it clearer and more in line with the objective of the systematic review. So as with the first approach, there seems to be no qualitization that occurred. And what they've done is actually use those qualitized data and then code them alongside the qualitative data from the qualitative studies that they've included, group them into sub-themes, and then further collapse into themes. The third approach is, again, I have two examples for the third approach. So what these reviewers have done is to actually extract data from the quantitative studies, and then data transformation or qualitization is an additional step, where in these examples, they use text descriptors like majority because it was 94%. And then the other example here, because it was 54.6%, they said more than half. So if you compare these to the first two approaches, there are no numeric results in their qualitized statements. So again, what happened was they extracted from the primary quantitative study and then qualitized the numerical results by using text descriptors like majority or more than half. In this other example, they did the same thing. They extracted the data from the quantitative studies and then used some form of labels or codes to qualitize the results from the quantitative studies. So you could see in these examples the codes that they've used to qualitize the quantitative results from the quantitative studies. So what we've found really is that there is some reviewers, what they would do is actually extract verbatim data from the primary quantitative studies or tweak them a little bit, reward them to align with the systematic review objective, but the qualitization appears to be implicit as data extraction occurs. Whereas other reviews would extract data first from the quantitative studies, data transformation is then an additional step, or the qualitization is an additional step before integration occurs. So those are what we found from the existing systematic reviews that have cited the JBI methodology for convergent integrated approach. So based on those learnings, we are now proposing an approach for data transformation.